So this kind of came out of nowhere, though I suppose they had revealed the controller at some point. But yeah, Sony announced or revealed in full the PlayStation 5 controller, now called the DualSense, and it's including a few new additions and a few tweaks to the prior designs. Although it does share many of the same design sensibilities as the previous 4 generations. But John, you did the update for us. You want to give us a quick rundown of what exactly is new and different with the DualSense controller?
Sure, let's start off with the biggest thing. The share button is gone and is replaced by a create button, which they're sharing more details on later. But really, the biggest details are there's haptic feedback. So basically, when you go through like a puddle or some mud, you'll kind of feel the resistance of that. And also in the triggers, if you're pulling like a bow, it's going to become harder to pull the trigger down depending on how hard the game wants you to pull it down. So that's kind of cool. But apart from that, it seems to share a lot in common with the PlayStation 4 controller. There's still a little touchpad in the middle, it's still got your standard buttons, and, actually one big new thing, USB-C. So you can now charge it using the same plug as your Switch Pro controller, or any other kind of like modern device.
Thank God!
But, yeah, apart from that, that's really all there really is to say about this thing. Oh, and a built-in microphone as well, so if you don't have like a headset or something, you can just chat into the controller, and that's all you need.
John, you missed the biggest thing of all about this. They moved the light from the back of the controller to the front, so now you have that light right in your face.
That's true. I mean, I guess it's not as impactful, though, as the DualShock 4, because it's just some little lines in the controller rather than this giant light, but yeah, I suppose that is true. And I was wondering, would this work with PlayStation VR? Considering you need the light on the back of the controller for that thing.
I mean, that's a good question, because if you look at the back of the controller, it's a much thinner area that you can see the light in. So, I mean, the PSVR would have to be able to notice just a very comparatively tiny sliver of light, because compared to the PS4's light bar, this what you see from the same position on the controller is just really small.
You know what concerns me? The fact that they didn't announce an on-off switch for that stupid light. Because it just kills the battery. Hopefully that's a software thing. I'm really hoping it's not permanently on this time, because as cool as it may look, it just destroys the batteries, so...
Well, speaking of looking cool, does this controller look cool? I'm still processing this. I'm not sure if I know if it does.
My gut reaction, no.
Really?
But I'm also more of a traditionalist, so it's just like, I don't like all that white. It looks and like, you know, we're gamers, we're greasy people, we play games for quite a lot. That white is going to get stained.
Think for yourself there, buddy.
I might not be as well lubricated as Derek. I love this controller design. I'm a big fan of white gadgets. You can say I'm stuck in 2007 or something, but I get some serious Wii vibes off of the D-pad and the buttons. If you look closely at like the high-res shots that they put up on the PlayStation blog, you can see that they're not just white plastic buttons; they're actually clear plastic.
I love that.
With like the gray underneath, so it's exactly like that big A button on the Wiimote, which I just still love that aesthetic. The interesting thing is too that this is technically not a ripoff of the Wii, because Sony did the exact same thing, or at least tried to do the exact same thing with the PS3, because this is the same style of button they had on that god-awful Boomerang controller that they showed off.
Right. They also had it with PlayStation Portable and PlayStation Vita as well.
Yeah. I like it. I like the white. I think it's cool that it's two-tone. You know, it's a neat look, but we also know Sony's going to release like 15,000 color variants of this thing. So if the white and black isn't your thing, I would be willing to bet that even at launch, there might be an additional color.
The odd thing to me is it's the black that I think that's putting me off.
When I first saw this revealed, my fiance was looking over at my screen, and she said it looks just like Eve from WALL-E, and I can't unsee that now.
So, okay, well, I'm going to ruin something for you then. What you won't be able to unsee after this is it looks like a bra.
Oh God, no!
You're
so
right.
much like one.
Until I realized that just literally a few moments ago. I actually like the look of this. I actually think it has like a pretty sleek, kind of futuristic-esque look to it, and I think that's pretty neat. It does stand out. It's something. The two-tone design is something that we haven't seen much in, or maybe at all, in terms of controllers, and I think it's pretty cool. But that bra thing is kind of throwing me off now.
It also looks like a shoe. Like, just the way, like, some shoes have two different colors at the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bra shoe.
Yeah. Oh, bra shoe. Wow, you guys should be hired for marketing. I do like the way it's a little more wide set than the DualShock 4 too. I mean, it's hard to tell from a product image with nothing for scale, but to me it looks almost like the body is a little more Switch Pro controller like than DualShock like, if that makes sense. Like it seems like it might be a little bit wider than what we're used to from the last like 4 generations of PlayStation controllers. And I don't know about you guys, but I personally find the Xbox One and the Switch Pro controllers to be a lot more comfortable for extended periods than the PS4 controller.
For sure. Yeah, I've always felt that PlayStation controllers were too skinny, and with the DualShock 4 in particular, it feels so thin, and there's not much really to grip onto. And I've always loved how Xbox controllers feel, and yeah, this definitely feels like more of a hybrid of Switch Pro and DualShock, which, good for me.
Yeah.
I never minded the thinness of the PlayStation controllers, but I've also been with Sony for how long, so it just never bothered me. It's just like, oh yeah, that's a DualShock for you. But I don't mind it being a little thicker, having a little bit more comfort there, because that's the thing. I might not like the design aesthetically, but it does look comfortable.
Yeah, so actually that's kind of, maybe that gets more to my probably biggest issue with the controller, is I've never been a huge fan of the PlayStation controller itself. I've never liked the left control stick's placement. I feel like it should be where the D-pad is, in the primary position like all the other controllers. So the fact that they're still sticking with what works, I mean, that's why they're sticking with it, because it has worked, obviously. PlayStation's been largely a huge success over time, so why fix what's not broken for most people? For me, I never liked that, so that kind of is still, I'm still hesitant on that front, even though I can make it work. But otherwise, I like what they're doing here. Like, some of these features, I mean, there's nothing like really truly earth-shattering from what I can gather. The haptic feedback, such HD rumble. So we've had that before. But that's good to have there still, even if its presence isn't huge to me. The resistant trigger sounds like a potentially cool idea. Also potentially annoying, but I think it could have some neat uses to it. Like, imagine, God, I can't believe I'm thinking this. Imagine like Mario Sunshine, right? Where like the pressure, like when you have a full backpack, for instance, when you're shooting out water, like you feel more resistance at first as it gets lesser and lesser the more you squeeze. And then also having a microphone built in, that's cool. Not having to deal with a headset, not having to deal with a phone app, having it right there in the controller, I think that's actually pretty handy. So yeah, and beyond that, the create button is the share button. So
Yeah.
It feels like they can't get rid of the touch panel just because this has to be backwards compatible with PlayStation 4 games, but barely any games actually use that touch panel.
Wasn't there some game that did it? Something kind of cool with it, I thought. I can't remember what it was.
I mean, in The Witcher 3, it was basically used for like shortcuts in the menu, and Infamous Second Son used it a little bit, but apart from that, there aren't that many uses.
It's basically just another button otherwise.
Right. I was going to say, tons of games use it to like pull up the map. It seems to be like the open some type of menu button. But yeah, I haven't actually ever really used the touch sensitivity, like movement on it. I can't think of a game I actually played where I used that.
I think Killzone Shadowfall used it a bit, but yeah, I mean, these are all launch games. Like Infamous and Killzone were very near the systems when the PS4 first came out, and it just kind of shows how developers just kind of stopped using it. So I don't expect many to use it at the PlayStation 5 either.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you saw how long the motion controls in the PlayStation 3 got used.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big shame too. This has gyro as well, I assume. I don't think they've outright said it, but it has to be backwards compatible with PlayStation 4, so it probably does. And that's one thing it has over Series X controller. The Xbox Series X controller has been revealed as well. It's basically the exact same as an Xbox One, but with a share button. But that means it doesn't have gyro, it doesn't have, these resistant triggers, so this is kind of more ambitious than that. Even if, Series X is just kind of showing what we already had. It's just kind of like a comfy, regular controller, whereas this is a bit more futuristic.
Xbox still can't get their D-pads right. I will say that the DualSense has a much more comfortable looking D-pad.
Yeah, even Nintendo can't get their D-pads right these days. What happened to D-pad technology? Why can no one nail this? I'm really mostly intrigued by those pressure-sensitive triggers. Or not pressure-sensitive, but whatever they're calling it. The resistance triggers.
Yeah. One thing they might have broken, actually, is the actual face buttons aren't color-coded anymore. And there was definitely some PS1 games that did use that. Like, they didn't show you, like in rhythm games, they wouldn't show you the exact button to press, but rather have a color that corresponds with that. And this isn't backwards compatible with PS1, it's just PS4. But games can't use color codes anymore. There's
still a few PS4 games that use that. There's color-coded.
Yeah?
Okay,
well,
I can think of
those will be a bit hard to play with this.
Might be a little trickier.
Yeah, I think they're all. It could cause some consternation for some folks, but I really wouldn't be surprised if we ended up getting a controller that had the traditional color combinations on those buttons. Like, I feel like this is a really cool design that we're seeing. I personally like it a lot. But I would be really, really surprised if we didn't see some that skewed closer to traditional color schemes available at some point. Like, you know, possibly not at launch, but maybe soon thereafter or something. I can't even begin to think of how many PS4 controller color variants there are. I think I personally own like 6 that are all different. So, yeah, and some of the PS4 controllers I have also don't have the colors mapped out. Like the 500 million edition, I think it just had gold buttons or something like that, or rather, you know, the square, triangle, X, and circle were gold, but the buttons themselves were like a blue color or something. But yeah, I that could be possible though. I could see definitely some older games having issues, like if people don't know instinctively what those colors are. So it'll be interesting to see if they address that in some way. I doubt they will though.
One thing they need to get rid of: PlayStation Move controllers. I do not want them in the next generation.
Yeah.
They really hinder VR.
I'm kind of betting that we see some type of updated PSVR. I feel like John said that the Move controllers suck. They're terrible. I just don't like them. I have some, and I don't want to play VR like that.
Yeah.
And I could definitely see, you know, they're due for an upgrade. Those are PS3 controllers. Yeah. We don't need to carry them forward again. So I really hope that Sony releases like an updated PSVR, possibly that includes some more fancy tech. You know, something that doesn't require like a series of cables and a junction box to connect to the console, and then some controllers from 2007. It'd be really nice to see something that is a bit more modern and in line with stuff like, you know, we've got VR headsets that don't even require a PC anymore. So I think it's due for a pretty massive overhaul, and I'd be surprised if we see the exact same stuff carry from PS4 over to PS5.
Yeah, something that doesn't charge via mini USB, I think it was.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
I could never find the cable for it.
Yeah, if anything, I just hope that now that we've got USB-C on the PS5 controller, that, you know, we don't have to carry multiple different USB cables to charge different controller types.
Mm-hmm. I will say, getting back to the controller itself, the DualSense, which is an interesting name too, kind of. But anyways. I think this is actually probably more of an evolution than I expected. As we kind of touched on earlier, the Xbox controller, as far as we can tell, isn't really, whereas this actually is doing a few new things. At the very least, for quality of life issues, like having the microphone. But even those, you know, those resistance-based triggers, I think, should be kind of interesting. I mean, I'm kind of picturing it as like an evolved version of the GameCube's shoulder buttons, which up to now have been my favorite triggers of all time. So if PlayStation can top that, I'm very intrigued by this. I really like well done triggers.
I can definitely see The Last of Us making great use of those triggers.
Ooh, yeah.
So when you're pulling a bow, just feeling the resistance as the string goes back, that's going to feel really good.
Absolutely. Or web swinging. Spider-Man.
Oh, absolutely.
You know they're going to do something with Spider-Man for it and make it have that feedback. It just makes sense. I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't do the thing, since, you know, it's been DualShock 1, 2, 3, 4 up to this point. Now we have DualSense. They didn't make the S look like a 5.
Oh, that is a missed opportunity.
Big missed opportunity.
Wow, they screwed up.
We're gonna have so many like replacements to QuickTime events where instead of just pressing a button rapidly, you're just gonna be pulling the trigger for a while until it eventually goes all the way.
Yeah. That makes sense. That's definitely gonna happen.
Now, I'm curious to get your guys' take on this. I'm looking at the controller, and I don't see a guide button. Do you guys think that the PlayStation logo is just the button now? Or
Yeah. It looks pressable.
It does.
It's finally like how the original Xbox controller should have been, with a giant X. That should have been a button. Why wasn't
Right.
I have no idea. Looking at this more, my biggest issue with the look of this controller now is based around that touchpad and the fact that it has those 2 straps there. Like, that's the only part I really don't like. Otherwise, I really do love this design.
It's growing on me. When I first saw it, I didn't know what I thought. It looks a bit more appealing. I don't think I'm ever going to quite love the color clashing, but maybe more color variants might change my opinion on that.
Yeah, that's what I gotta hope for is color variants. Otherwise, it's functional as far as the two-tone design. It does the job. You certainly won't lose it. So, yeah. But it's not something that just appeals to me.
Yeah, I'm completely on the other side. I'm in love with this design. I think it's great. I've been wanting Sony to like make a large scale change to the design of the PlayStation controller for years now, decades possibly. And I think this does the job. This for me feels like the first truly different PlayStation controller. I mean, the DualShock 4 came close, but it still had that exact same form factor to it. And I think just widening it out and you know, maybe even to an extent, the two-tone design makes it feel like a bigger change than most of their other efforts.
I think that's it.
I dig it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of lends it the two-tone design almost lends it a look akin to the Boomerang controller for the PS3 that was originally announced, because it looks, if you ignore the black portion, like it looks kind of slimmer because of the two-tone design. It's really, it's kind of an interesting look to it.
Yeah.
This is the first time that next gen has felt tangible to me. That the PlayStation 5 has always just been this thing that's sort of existed in Sony's mind, but they've done a really poor job sort of elaborating that towards the world. We had that GDC presentation where they didn't even show the console or anything about it. All we've known is that it will have faster loading, but now it feels like the PS5 is actually coming now. Yeah. Now that I have something to actually see it as.
Because this is the part you interact with. Like, everyone freaks out about the box, and I never quite know why. You're gonna look at the box once, and maybe when you swap games, if anyone does that these days. Beyond that, it's gonna be under your TV. You're not gonna be looking at it. The controller is the main thing you're interacting with when you're playing PlayStation. You're holding it, you're looking at it a fair amount. That's the part that really matters. So I think that's what makes us feel more tangible now, is this is how we'll be interacting with our games.
Yeah, I agree. I like this approach too. You know, when Nintendo did this with the Wii, I thought it was crazy to show us the controller first. But like you said, Andre, this is the part of the console you spend the most time with, if you're doing it right anyway. But it does beg, to me, a really interesting question. Have you ever seen a controller that did not match the console it came with?
Good. Yeah, I actually wanted to bring that up and I completely forgot to. But yeah, this might indicate a two-tone PS5 as far as design or color scheme or what have you.
Might be onto something.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. If we're not going to see a white and black console, that would be interesting. I don't know how it would work, and I don't know how much I'd like it in my living room. But it would be interesting if either A, the console did match this and had some kind of crazy, wild, futuristic look to it, or B, if for once they shipped a controller that just looked crazy different from the box that it came with.
I hate you so much for that Brawl comparison, Andre, because now I'm thinking with that prototype design that we had that looks like a V is oh good, it's a Brawl and panties between the controller and the console.
Oh God. Oh, Sony's figured out a new marketing angle for the PS5.
Oh, God. Wow. I hate you, Andre.
I know, you can't see it. You're stuck with us for the next 5, 6, 7 years. And then what exactly are we going to do that create button? I mean, we joke around that it's basically the same, but they probably have some different ideas for it if they are changing the name and making a point that this isn't just the share button. So I wonder what exactly they could be doing with that.
My guess is it's not only just, it's basically share if you want to make it share, but then you can also maybe have a rudimentary editing program so you can edit clips together. You save that little bit, you save that little bit. Okay, let's hit that create button and actually edit these together. And here's a little video you can post on Twitter or with your friends or whatever.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Almost like a TikTok-like thing. You just put together a whole bunch of clips really easily and then just throw it out there as one combined video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the PS4 had the beginnings of that with that Share Factory application. I never really got into it. I tried it once or twice and I didn't like it. But it was really clunky, really slow, hard to use. But it would be interesting if they kind of put more of a spotlight on that and focused on making it better, because I could see that being really, really a fun way to share your content if you want to do something that's a little more polished than just raw gameplay and dumping that onto Twitter. It could be interesting. Also, I'm sure that the PS5 will continue to support streaming out of the box and other stuff like that. So I'm curious to see what they've added to that functionality that they weren't renaming it. because I think the PS4 has the I don't really dig the share functionality on the PS4 at all. I think it's slow. I think it's hard to use.
It's
think
funny.
It makes
It's
not
really
worthwhile.
slow. You press the share button, and the screenshot appears 5 seconds later.
I've never used the share button.
It's so weird to consider that Nintendo's the one that actually nailed it in this sense. It's not perfect, but in terms of like the limited capabilities it has, they killed it. It's super quick to use, super easy to share. Nintendo did a great job. So I'm really hoping that Sony fixes that for this one, because that's key to using it.
Yeah, they're miles ahead of Sony on this one, and that's just weird to say, because it's something that primarily exists on the internet.
Right? It must have been an accident. Like someone screwed up somewhere.
Yeah. Like, you made it too fast. It should take at least 2 minutes.
Gotta get that Wii U technology in there.
Oh, yeah. Do you guys remember... this is way off topic, but do you guys remember sharing videos to YouTube with Mario Kart 8?
Oh my god.
I do.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
That was a cumbersome process.
That is like the most painful experience. Like, people joke all the time about loading times being so long that you could go make a sandwich. Like, if you share a video from Mario Kart 8, you could go make dinner and have a nap. And you might be done by then if it didn't error out. Like,
yeah, if Mario Kart 9's not out by then.
Yeah, so I'm blown away that Nintendo has sharing nailed down super tight, and I hope that Sony has taken notice with this, because if anything, the number one thing I want from this create button is I want instantaneous screenshots. That's probably the number one thing for me. So Andre, to speak to your question in the chat, one of our followers on Twitter photoshopped the PlayStation 5 controller into all black.
Ooh.
And I thought it looks amazing.
It's not bad. Like, it just looks more like a standard controller to me now.
Right. It doesn't have the same exciting feel to it. But
yeah,
it is a nice looking controller.
So it really does show how, like, I feel like the two-tone really is making it feel like a bigger leap or bigger difference than it may be. But yeah, while the straps, which I'm now calling around the touchpad, look better now, I'm not a huge fan of the rest of the controller. So
the buttons need to be something else.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Just blends in.
Yeah. All right, guys. Any final thoughts about the controller you want to throw out there, or anything related to it?
How much are we expecting this to cost? Because the resistant triggers and haptic feedback don't sound cheap.
Yeah. Well, how much is the Pro controller? 80?
60.
I think it's 80.
Oh, is it 80?
Oh, the Joy-Cons. No,
I
the
think
Joy-Cons
so.
are 80. I think is
70.
Is it 70? Yeah, I think it's a
A
little bit
Pro
cheaper.
controller is $69.99 usually.
So
I think.
I will bet you this will actually probably be more expensive. I'm guessing this might be an $80 controller then.
Maybe.
Good thing I
that's
don't really play multiplayer on PlayStation consoles that much, or at least not local multiplayer. So, sheesh.
Yeah, see, this is such a great question. I do agree that I think controller price creep is going to continue this generation. So yeah, I'd probably place this one at $79, and that's way too much.
Yeah, it is. That's the thing that sucks. Playing with your friends is super expensive.
I'm just dang excited to actually try this thing. I like that Sony got with the program and got USB-C. I like that I'm going to be able to charge my Switch and my PS5 controllers off the same cable. It makes it a lot easier for me to keep those things actually powered up.
Yeah.
And I think it's a cool design. I really dig the buttons. I like the Wii vibes off it. I can't unsee the bra straps now. Thanks, Andre. But other than that, I'm really into it. I'm really, really excited about this. I think I feel like it'll be better than the PS4 controller, but you can't really tell these things until you actually get to hold the thing.
Think about the controller skins you can use for those bra straps, though.
Oh my god. No, I don't know if I want to.
I'm already horrified by the potential Senran Kagura special edition skin we'll get.
Oh, God.
Real quick, what do you guys think about the name? Are you fans of DualSense?
I have a feeling most people will just call it the DualShock.
It's definitely a statement, though. It's like the evolution. It's not even the DualShock anymore. They've gone past that.
Right.
And it feels like they're definitely going towards feel with this controller, which is exciting. I'm really interested to get my hands on this and feel exactly what it feels like to pull the trigger on this. I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, actually, I think you're right. I mean, it's always been about feel, but now it's going for a more nuanced approach, with the HD rumble and the haptic-based triggers, however the hell the pressure, varying pressure amount of triggers. Yeah, I think it's cool. It's a kind of like a bit of a bold statement, if in a bit of a subdued kind of way. And yeah, I like that. Like any kind of controller innovation, I'm always in favor of, because again, that's our main point of interaction with these games. The more options, the better.
Yeah.
I'm getting the hang of it more as I look at it. It's definitely one of those things like I'm not sure at first, but now I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm used to it now. It's
The bra was a turning point for you.
no, that's never mind. Burn it, toss in the trash.
All right. Well, I think we're about done here. So that's our initial impressions of the PlayStation 5 controller, the DualSense. Hopefully, it won't be too long until we can give it a shot ourselves. But who fully knows at this point? And with that, thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw, click that subscribe button, ring that bell if you haven't already. Stay up to date on all of our PlayStation 5 videos, plus everything else we cover around here too. We'll catch you guys later. Bye.